And it's now time for the morning watch with Mr. Stokeley Marshall. Today, the morning watch is brought to you by Home and Things. Home and Things. Get everything you need to renovate your space with brands you know, brands you can trust. Visit us at 17 Old Hope Road and Constant Spring Road, and also Chris and Charles. When you think loans, think Chris and Charles.
Teachers, teachers, teachers. The Chris and Charles double deal is here for you. Borrow $1 million from Chris and Charles and get 30% off your processing fees. Pay less than $25,000 monthly, or borrow $575,000 and pay $12,595 monthly. No guarantor needed. Conditions apply. Offer ends May 31, 2023. Call 876-920-4189 for details. When you think loans, think Chris and Charles.
Save in style every time you shop at Home and Things. Find all the top brands at the best prices. Grab a deal on porcelain, ceramic and mosaic tiles, fixtures and faucets for kitchen and bathroom, windows and doors, lighting, home decor and more. Yes, you can save in style on just about everything in store. Old Hope Road and Constant Spring Road. Shop for store-wide savings today at Home and Things. Brands you know, brands you can trust.
Listeners to Love 101 FM are advised that the views and opinions expressed in this program are not necessarily those of Love 101 FM.
Hello and welcome to the Morning Watch on Love 101 FM, the number one gospel station in Jamaica. I'm your host, Stokeley Marshall. A special welcome to our listeners on love101.org. And if you are overseas and on the move, US listeners can access us at 712-832-8001. And if you are in the UK, 0330-332-6541. Or join us via the Love 101 FM app that can be downloaded from the Google Play Store or the Apple Store. You can also join us on Love 101 FM Facebook and YouTube Live in the first watch today. The consequences and impact of crying wolf. The consequences and impact of crying wolf. In the second watch, more concerns raised on the the New World Health Organization, WHO regulations or accord. For our social media question, we ask, do you understand the danger? Do you understand the danger of making public prank calls? This question is related to our first watch, which is consequences of an impact of crying wolf. So do you understand the danger of making public prank calls? Share your responses on our Love 101 FM Facebook page and YouTube channel, and also on WhatsApp 876-997-3125 using hashtag the Morning Watch. We'll share your responses later on the program, but first, as I quote.
Good morning. So, today's I quote says, the problem with crying wolf so many times over the years is that it waters down a legitimate cry. And this is so true.
Well, Jacob, the problem with crying wolf so many times over the years is that it waters down
a legitimate cry. The real one.
All those prank calls when you say that there's a fire and there's no fire.
Oh, well, when there's only fire, then who's going to help you?
Oh, boy. Shukal, good morning again, sir.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm well.
All right.
I'm well. There's still a lump in my throat, but I'm moving along.
Yes.
The first watch. We'll be back after this break. I will be here after this break. Sorry.
Yes.
Relay for Life is back this Saturday, June 10. You're invited to Walk for Life. Be a part of Relay for Life presented by the Jamaica Cancer Society, walking together with hope. This Saturday, June 10, 6 p.m. at the Police Officers Club, 34 Hope Road. Join them as the society will pause to remember those who lost the fight to cancer and cheer on those who are still winning. If you want to register to be a part of the Walk for Hope, call 876-927 317-3317 or 301-0346. Registration ends Friday, June 9. Relay for Life, Walking Together with Hope. Saturday, June 10, beginning at 6 p.m. through the night until 6 a.m. on Sunday. The highlights will be on the family station, Love 101, celebrating 30 years of music, family, and love.
I am a man, yes.
Mandem, it's table talk time. Join us on the mailbox this Wednesday, June 7, as we discuss emotions and the Christian man. With our guests, Matthew John Griffiths Shannon, and our hosts, Courtney Morrison and Kevin Bailey. Right here on the family station, Love 101, celebrating 30 years of music, family, and love.
Integrity man.
Every Wednesday at 11 a.m. on Love 101, you're invited to listen to Good Morning Minister, a weekly feature where government ministers will speak about the developments in their various ministries. Listen for the updates and have your questions and concerns ready to share inside Good Morning Minister as the Minister of Information, Robert Nesta Morgan, and a guest minister or agency head discuss the issues and take your questions and suggestions. Get ready to call in during Good Morning Minister.
Good Morning Minister with host the Honorable Robert Morgan will have as guest the Honorable Orlando Tarilong, Minister of State in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade. That's Good Morning Minister this Wednesday, June 7 at 11 a.m. on the family station Love 101. Here is your opportunity to connect with someone who will listen, pray, and give guidance. It's the Ministry of Counseling and Prayer of the Edgewater Baptist Church. Please call 876-220-6474 or 876-332-7956. Weekdays between 8 a.m. and 9 p.m. Saturdays and Sundays between 8 a.m. and 8 p.m. Please talk to someone if you're finding it particularly challenging to cope during this period of crisis. Someone is waiting for your call. Please reach out today, 876-220-6474 or 876-332-7956. It's the telephone counseling and prayer ministry of the Edgewater Baptist Church. A reminder that somebody cares. Endorsed by Love 101.
When I come to the end of myself, Father, carry me.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. I'm your host, Stokeley Marshall. We are now in the main watch now. Just a couple of days ago, there were 2 bomb threats, and both crippled regular day-to-day activities and sent a certain amount of fear in some persons. This morning, we will look at the seriousness of making such calls, whether you're doing it as a joke or whether it's a real threat. To address this, we have today Senior Superintendent Stephanie Lindsay of the Jamaica Constabulary Force. She has been the head of the Constabulary Communications Unit. And we also have Superintendent Emilia Banks, Public Relations Officer for the Jamaica Fire Brigade. Senior Superintendent and Superintendent, good morning.
Good morning.
Now, getting right into it, ladies and gentlemen, what are some of the implications when people cry wolf when there's no wolf? Starting with you, Senior Superintendent.
All right, good morning to your listeners. And Mr. Evans, good morning. So for us in the Jamaica Constabulary Force, I mean, it's a very stupid thing to do, for want of a better term. Because what it does, for one, is that it creates unnecessary fear and tension among the society, but also takes up unnecessarily so a lot of resources from the Jamaica Constabulary Force. Because when you have a bomb threat, we take it very, very seriously. So, as in the case on Sunday, we had to bring resources out of Kingston. We had to mobilize our bomb squad. We had to take persons from a specialized operational section that are in Oxford to bring to this place for us to have coverage. So it does take a lot of resources, and also we had to close down roads, to close down businesses. So it's not just to call and say it's a hoax, but it's a serious matter. And what even compounded the situation is not like they would call from a telephone and you would have a discussion with them that you can make some kind of assessment. You're putting it out on social media so it goes viral very quickly. And not only has implication locally, but also has implication for the country from a safety and security standpoint. So it does have a negative impact.
So, Senior Superintendent, isn't there a way to trace the source of the call or the social media posting?
Well, of course, we have our mechanism to treat with it. The person was taken into custody the following day. But notwithstanding, at the initial stages, the first response is to ensure that this bomb, that if it was a real situation, is to neutralize the threat. So all the focus would be on finding the location, ensuring that there's a bomb, and if there's a bomb, to see how best we can have it not explode in that space, because it can be catastrophic. So that's the first instance, and then from there, when you move on to investigation, you find out who are the
So while you're responding to the call or the social media posting, is it possible that at the same time someone can be checking the veracity or the truthfulness of the call or the posting?
Yes, you can. That's been done, but at the same time, when it comes to responding to emergency, and I'm sure my counterpart will tell you that the first instance, you're focused on saving lives. So here's a situation that can have the potential for massive loss of lives and other disasters. So the first to prioritize. So in the first instance is to neutralize the threat immediately, and then you move into the next phase. So while that is being done simultaneously, but the real focus is on neutralizing the threat that would be caused by the bomb if it was a real bomb.
Superintendent Banks, good morning again, sir.
Good morning.
No, a very critical question. The Jamaica Fire Brigade gets calls from time to time about various situations. Someone might call to say that there's a fire and there is no fire at all. Someone might call to say there's a fire and there's a real fire. Tell us how much of a strain these kinds of, in terms of the prank calls, how much of a strain is it on the Jamaica Fire Brigade?
Well, I don't have the numbers in terms of the prank calls. So I wouldn't be able to give you that right now. That is something that I'd have to speak with my stats person on to get that kind of information.
So, in terms of the calls, you take a similar approach to the Jamaica Constabulary Force. You respond firstly because you want to save lives. But what about maybe a dual strategy? I'm not putting you under any pressure, but a dual strategy. Whilst you're responding, you're also checking out whether the call is a truthful call. Is that something that you're considering?
That is not our concern as SSC, like you said, at that time. At that point, our concern is lives that are at risk, the saving of lives, the protecting of property.
Hold that thought, Superintendent Banks, because we're upon a break. Listeners, don't go anywhere. We'll be right back on the Morning Watch.
part in helping us become rock solid and ready. For more information on the National Natural Disaster Risk Financing Policy, visit mof.gov.jm. The time by the Ministry of Finance and the Public Service is
7:15.
I am a man, I am a man, I am a man, yes.
Mandem, it's Table Talk time. Join us on the mailbox this Wednesday, June 7, as we discuss emotions and the Christian man, with our guest, Matthew John Griffiths Shannon, and our hosts, Courtney Morrison and Kevin Bailey, right here on the family station, Love 101, celebrating 30 years of music, family, and love.
Integrity man.
Breast cancer is real. Cervical cancer is real. Heart attack and stroke are real. And so are pregnancy complications. As a woman, if you are hit with one of these critical illnesses or complications, your whole life can be turned upside down. Total Woman Insurance Plan gives you real insurance protection for up to 15 major critical illnesses, life insurance, and other benefits, including free cancer screening. Get serious about your coverage. Get real protection with Total Woman Insurance Plan from Sagicor Life.
Educom does it again with the mega car loan sale. 100% financing, interest rate of 6.95% and up to 10 years to repay. Hurry now and visit any of our 9 branches. Call Educom at 876-926-6973 or WhatsApp 876-559-7575 for more info. Educom Cooperative Credit Union Limited. Value through service.
If you have financial needs, Chris and Charles will fix them for you. Power in great moments since 1992. Oh, we have it all. Power in great moments. Relax, you got Chris and Charles. Oh, we have it all. When you think loans, think Chris and Charles. Follow Grace Sardine, flavor. Grace Sardine with the chef and the beginner. Follow the one with pepper, that are the winner. Shop on supermarkets, everybody sell it. Do all of them nice. Pass the part, me push it.
Grace Sardines, follow the better flavor. Share in the experience at Fontana Pharmacy. We have a wide variety of items in store just for you. Fill your prescriptions while you shop. And senior citizens enjoy 10% off. Shop household, cosmetics, toys, and many other departments. We also offer curbside pickup and delivery. Visit our website at fontanapharmacy.com. Fontana Pharmacy, where it's all good inside.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. I'm your host, Stokeley Marshall. We are in the main watch, the first watch. Our guests are Senior Superintendent Stephanie Lindsay of the Jamaica Constabulary Force and Superintendent Emilia Ebanks of the Jamaica Fire Brigade. Superintendent Ebanks, you know, I'm seeing where from as far back as 2011 and even maybe before that, to as recently as last month, May of this year, there are various articles, or at least a few articles referring to prank calls and the strain that they're having on emergency services. Any comments generally on that then, Superintendent Ebanks? Because clearly this is something that, you know, your servicemen, they go out there and they find that there's no fire. I mean, they might be just shaking their heads and saying, again, Superintendent. Are you with us, Superintendent? Are you muted, sir? I'm not sure if we're hearing Superintendent. Senior Superintendent Stephanie Lindsay?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, you're with us, yes. And any comments in terms of the question I just asked? I think we have lost Superintendent Banks. Any comments in relation to the question I just raised?
Well, yes, because our 119 emergency center gets hundreds of prank calls on a daily basis. A large percentage of the calls that they get are prank calls, people calling about things that are happening, and when they respond, it's not. We also find out that now that it's coming to summertime, when you have a lot of children who are left at home unsupervised, they tend
Oh,
to
I
stay
see.
around
I
with the
see. I
119
see.
emergency services a lot. So
I
we
see.
do get the
Okay.
prank calls, and it does impact our services because, for one, when you have these prank calls, queuing up in the line and preventing a genuine emergency call from coming through, that's one. And then when we have to divert resources to respond to a situation that really doesn't exist, then it leaves another location vulnerable to attack.
And Senior Superintendent, you made reference to the implications for these prank calls on reputation, although you probably never use the word reputation, but
Yeah.
reputational and international ramifications. Can you tell us a little bit more about that? Why is that such a problem?
All right. So remember now, Jamaica is a country that relies heavily on our tourism product. Now, tourist people go to location because they want to have a good vacation and they want to be safe. So when you put out something like that on the internet and it goes viral, then a person planning to come to Jamaica may want to think twice, because when you think about bombing and all of those things, you think about some countries that are having some serious social problem and turmoil, terrorists and all of that. Jamaica, we really don't have those realities. So when you put those things out there, it doesn't only have implications for locals, but it also have implications for people who are looking on, and definitely still you can very well see an advisory coming out that people should avoid Jamaica because we are not safe, because we are people likely to bomb public spaces and all of that. So it is really a serious matter. And the next time somebody think of doing something that's stupid, they have to think beyond themselves, because it's no joking matter. It's really, really no joking matter.
Understood. Now, it has been indicated that you indicated, for example, that there was someone was held. You want to tell us a little bit more about that, Superintendent, Senior
Yes,
Superintendent?
so we have someone in custody that was held in relation to the matter.
Can you remind us about? Can you remind the listeners which matter that was, or matters?
The one at the high school in St. Mary, no one was held in that situation yet. The one on Sunday where this man put out the posting, we have him in custody.
Okay.
We are looking at possible charges and doing some more investigation around him. But one of the possible charges could be creating public mischief, because in that case, he really caused, because of a false claim, a lot of resources to be wasted in that case.
Yes. And having regard to both of those incidences and the implications, do you think there ought properly to be some kind of more targeted offense for doing something like this? Do you think creating public mischief is enough of a charge? I'm just asking your own view now as a professional in the police force, how you view this kind of situation. Should there be some kind of special offense targeted specifically to that?
Well, like I always say, that consequences matter. So whereas we only enforce what we get as a law, so consequences matter. So probably there was a time when this was not something that needed to be brought up as a priority in terms of looking at possible sanctions, because persons really weren't doing these kind of things. But as the society changes, and as we see more and more people doing things, then we have to look at our laws to see if what we have in place is sufficient to deal with the current trend. Because, law is not very static. It generally changes with the time and what's happening. So we just have to look at what we have. But I believe that when something like this happens and somebody causes such disruption in the society and in the services, then there should be serious consequences as a result of the action of the individual.
Now, Senior Superintendent, you made mention of the times, because someone making a prank call in maybe, say, 1990 or 1960 is different from someone making a prank call in 2023. Can you just try to let the listeners understand what has changed, especially in light of the fact that we're in a time where there is social media which goes viral instantly. Senior Superintendent?
Right. So police in an era of social media is quite different from policing in an era of telephone. Because
Yes.
what happened on Sunday is that person had made a call to a telephone number to say there's a bomb at this particular place. We would be treating it today, but you get an opportunity to probe some more and to check some more and to do some other things. So that would be a situation that is residing between the caller and the provider of the services via JDF. Now, it would not send the same kind of panic worldwide as when you put it on social media and within seconds, it's all over the world. People are sharing, people are talking about it, and it is going viral. In those instances, of course, people don't know what's happening, so there's communication and miscommunication, and then send this whole set of people into fear and panic. And that is what policing in the time of social media does. So it does put things out there that people would only hear about after the fact that maybe there was a bounce there, maybe you didn't hear about it at all. But it's right in your faces, so you can't avoid it, you can't escape it. So the fear level associated with it is higher. And more persons in different parts of the world get to see, and then they within themselves will form an impression about us as a country and as a society and how safe and secure we are.
Well, let's just look at the preparedness of the JCF in a nutshell to respond to these things, because I've been in buildings before where there's a bomb threat and we all have to evacuate, and then we are usually told like an hour or two later, the building is safe, you can go back in. So tell us about the sorts of resources quickly that the JCF has to check on whether there is in fact a bomb in a building.
Well, of course, you can't discuss all our tactics publicly.
Of course you can, but as much as you can in your role in terms of as a communications specialist or communications person, officer with the JCF, yes. Senior Superintendent? Are you with us, Senior Superintendent? I think we have lost her. Senior Superintendent Lindsay? There seems to be a disturbance with the communications here. Senior Superintendent Lindsay, are you with us? Well, I wanted her to just outline to us that the JCF has an arm that is trained specially to check to see if there is in fact a bomb in a building. And they have been in several situations where you have to leave the building and the JCF, their team turns up, and they seem to do a very professional job in checking everywhere. And then they leave and they are able to tell us when the building is clear for us to go back inside comfortably and safely without any fear or panic or threat of any bomb going off. Well, it seems as if we do not have Senior Superintendent Lindsay. We have lost her, and earlier on, it appears that we lost Superintendent Emil Ebanks of the Jamaica Fire Brigade. We want to thank both guests for having been guests in this first watch, and we want to thank the organizations, the Jamaica Constabulary Force and the Jamaica Fire Brigade, for the excellent and sterling work that they have been doing over the years in helping to keep the country safe and secure. I think we have Senior Superintendent Lindsay back with us. Senior Superintendent, what's one final word in a second or two before we wrap today?
All right, so just to say that I really want people to think before they act. This idea of going out on social media and putting out things because you want to get likes and you want to get following, you don't play with security matters in that way, because it does have implications for yourself, that we're going to find you. It does have implications for country, and it does put a strain on the limited resources that we have to treat with the bigger issue of crime and violence. So think twice, continue with the conversation. We will do what we can to push the public education around it, those prank calls on the 119 or the 110 services, speak to the children about it, because it's coming up to summertime and they tend to idly do that a lot. So it's a lot of work in progress, but I'm sure that we will continue to do what we can to keep the society safe. And we expect for our citizens, all we're asking them for is to act responsibly.
Thank you so much, Senior Superintendent. We have to leave it there this morning. The Morning Watch. We'll be back after this break.
JN Bank Small Business Loans. Tell us your business and let's turn your ambitions into reality. The time by JN Bank Small Business Loans is
7:31.
Stay fully connected with Flow Yard and Road, the home internet and mobile plan to keep up with your life. Sign up today and get fiber fast internet at home and unlimited YouTube, social, talk and text on your mobile for just $4,999 plus GCT. And get a Samsung tablet or phone now for only $499 plus GCT. Flow Yard and Road. Stay fully connected. Visit a Flow store to sign up today. Conditions apply.
From generation to generation, Jamaicans have depended on JN Bank to make the pride and joy of providing a safe place for their families possible. Now, with no processing fees and no down payment mortgage options, you can open the door to your own sweet home, a legacy to hand to your next generation. Visit jnbank.com to get pre-approved today. JN Bank will help you find a way. There's certain moments in life you'll cherish forever. Like buying your first car, stepping into your first home, sending your child to university, starting that business you've always dreamed of. These are your great moments, and helping you achieve them is ours. Call Chris and Charles today. We have a loan for all the great moments in your life. Powering great moments since 1992. When you think loans, think Chris and Charles. Rise with the sun and face the day with some Lasco instant chocolate. Pull a pack, stir it up. Hot or cold, enjoy the chocolatey goodness any time of the day and unleash instant smiles, instant happiness.
What are your financial goals? Consider who you are and where you want to be. Do you want to open your own business? Do you want to own a home? Invest in properties? Go back to school? Send your children to school? Then you have to save. But first, you have to have a budget. This financial literacy tip was brought to you by Bank of Jamaica, building an inclusive economy.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. I'm your host, Stokeley Marshall. Let's take a look now at the newspapers to see what Jamaicans and others are saying and doing. And we take a quick look here now at we take a quick look here firstly at the Gleaner. We have impossible task. Former People's National Party chairman dismisses calls for job descriptions for members of parliament. Very interesting headline here. Former People's National Party chairman dismisses calls for job descriptions for members of parliament. And this is Robert Pickersgill, the now retired former member of parliament and MP, was a member of parliament for St. Catherine North Western. We move over to the Observer. We have here in the Observer, under attack. The headline continues to read, Mayberry hack, H-A-C-K, Mayberry hack exposes information of prominent Jamaicans. But company says clients' financial positions have not been compromised. And Mayberry refers to Mayberry Investments Limited. We now turn to Loop Jamaica News. We have here Marlene Malahoo Fort's mom was told to abort her many times. Why the Minister of Legal and Constitutional Affairs will never support abortion. Those and many other stories in our various news sources today. Of course, coming up next, we will read for you some of the feedback from our social media question, which is, do you understand the danger of making public prank calls? Leave a comment on our Facebook page and YouTube channel, Love 101 FM Jamaica, or WhatsApp 876-997-3125. We'll be right back.
I am a man, yes.
Mandem, it's table talk time. Join us on the mailbox this Wednesday, June 7, as we discuss emotions and the Christian man, with our guests Matthew John Griffiths Shannon and our hosts Courtney Morrison and Kevin Bailey, right here on the family station, Love 101, celebrating 30 years of music, family, and love.
Integrity man.
Every Wednesday at 11 a.m. on Love 101, you're invited to listen to Good Morning Minister, a weekly feature where government ministers will speak about the development in their various ministries. Listen for the updates and have your questions and concerns ready to share inside Good Morning Minister as the Minister of Information, Robert Nesta Morgan, and a guest minister or agency head discuss the issues and take your questions and suggestions. Get ready to call in during Good Morning Minister.
Good Morning Minister with host the Honorable Robert Morgan will have as guest the Honorable Orlando Tarilong, Minister of State in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade. That's Good Morning Minister this Wednesday, June 7 at 11 a.m. on the family station Love 101. Relay for Life is back this Saturday, June 10. You're invited to Walk for Life. Be a part of Relay for Life presented by the Jamaica Cancer Society, Walking Together with Hope. This Saturday, June 10, 6 p.m. at the Police Officers Club, 34 Hope Road. Join them as the society will pause to remember those who lost the fight to cancer and cheer on those who are still winning. If you want to register to be a part of the Walk for Hope, call 876-927-3317 or 301-0346. Registration ends Friday, June 9. Relay for Life, Walking Together with Hope. Saturday, June 10, beginning at 6 p.m. through the night until 6 a.m. on Sunday. The highlights will be on the family station Love 101, celebrating 30 years of music, family, and love.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. I'm your host, Stokeley Marshall. Let's join Jakal for a look at how our friends answered the Facebook, YouTube, and WhatsApp. The question that was put on Facebook, YouTube, and WhatsApp. The question being, do you understand the dangers of making public prank calls, Jakal?
All right, so we definitely have some responses here. Faith from Washington Garden says, good morning. It's a very serious thing. This is abnormal behavior. Next up, we have Sister Matilda. And Sister Matilda has a voice note. Let's hear what she's saying.
Good morning, Mrs. Marshall and Dara. I'll just state two of the many dangers. While at the fire department is responding to a prank call, there can be a genuine need somewhere, and because of the unavailability of the fire assistance, some dangerous things happen. Then, while they are responding to a prank call, there can be a fatal accident, and that could have been avoided. Okay, thank you.
All right, that is from Sister Matilda. Wainwright from Sandy Bay. Let's hear from Cherry. Cherry says, a prank can cause death or a prison sentence. As the saying goes, frogs say what is a joke to you is death to me. Don't cry wolf when there is no wolf. Phyllis from St. Thomas, let's hear what you're saying.
Good morning, good morning. You don't prank call crying wolf. When the real wolf come, nobody's going to come because you keep crying wolf, so they're going to say it's the same call, there's no wolf. So you have to be careful what you do in life because it's going to come back on you. It's going to come straight back to you.
It definitely will. Edna, let me hear what you're saying.
Good morning, watch the 101 listeners and staff. Yes, I understand the danger of making a public prank call, and I wish others would too and desist from doing so. Making a prank call is a waste of resources, put people in danger. Yes, because when you make a prank call to a certain place and the authority respond when it's a false, then there's a real thing happening over there and they could be there where people lose them life, lose them resources and stuff like that. So it's really dangerous. Can you imagine my house burning down and somebody call a fire brigade and send them down the so? And then they could have come save me. And when I go down the so it was a prank call. Come on. We have resources. It's like the little boy that we call it wolf, when there were no wolf, and when the real wolf come, there were no one to help him. Come on. People who are doing so must desist from doing so.
Yes, I agree with you, Edna. Desist from doing so. And that is the end of what we have here on WhatsApp. So the listeners are really against this.
Thank you, Brother Chukal. Thank you so much. Very important comments there coming from our listeners. We welcome the comments. Thank you so much. We move right into the second watch. And we have as our guest in this second watch, Dr. Doreen Brady West. She's a medical doctor and bioethicist. And we're looking at the topic of more recent concerns raised on the new World Health Organization, WHO regulations, or maybe the proper word is accord. It is understood that the various deliberations on some new rules to govern world health, and not just public health, but all risks, are being thought about, discussed, drafted, but there seems to be somewhat of a limited understanding or knowledge as to what is being spoken of, certainly in the public domain. So we have as our guest, as I indicated, Dr. Doreen Brady West. Good morning, Dr. Doreen Brady West. Are you with us?
Yes, good morning. Can you hear me clearly?
Hearing it loud and clear, Dr. Brady West, Doreen Brady West. And one of the challenges I think many of us are having is that we are not so au fait or clear, or there doesn't seem to be much publicity as it relates to what is happening with the proposed WHO accord. What is the concern with the proposed regulations, Dr. Brady West, to be put out to people? And I even understand that the British Parliament might have been looking at it recently.
Right. Yes, that's true.
Go ahead, Dr. Brady West.
Right. So to try to put it in a simpler way as possible, there are two things going on. One is the WHO Pandemic Preparedness and Response Accord, as you said, or the WHO Pandemic Treaty, you could call it loosely. That is one thing that's going on. But another thing that's going on simultaneously and concurrently is that there are amendments made to what is called the International
Health Regulations, yes.
Or IHR. Now, this IHR was from 2005. This was put out, and now there are amendments to it. And so the concern is that in changing the IHR and making these amendments, it is going to add a dictatorial slant to the implementation of the pandemic accord. And as you correctly said in the introduction, these amendments extend the regulations and the implementation beyond the scope of pandemics. Okay, so these are some of the concerns, and the concerns also are related to a matter of timing, in that when these amendments were first put out in May 2022, the state parties or governments were given a timeline by which they had to, in writing, say that they do not agree with these amendments. And the question was being asked in a recent letter written by a senior medical doctor, as to whether the government was aware of this timeline by which they had to object, because if you did not object, your acquiescence would be assumed. And so was the government aware?
Object by what date?
It was 18 months' time after May 22 when they were first put out.
Hold that thought, Dr. Brady West, because we're now up on a break. Listeners, don't go anywhere. We'll be right back on the Morning Watch.
Great sardine for the chef and the beginner. Follow the one with pepper, that are the winner. Shop on supermarkets, everybody
Great sardines, follow the better flavor.
The time is 7:46.
Breast cancer is real. Cervical cancer is real. Heart attack and stroke are real. And so are pregnancy complications. As a woman, if you are hit with one of these critical illnesses or complications, your whole life can be turned upside down. Total Woman Insurance Plan gives you real insurance protection for up to 15 major critical illnesses, life insurance, and other benefits, including free cancer screening. Get serious about your coverage. Get real protection with Total Woman Insurance Plan from Sagicor Life.
Crystal Clear and Sharp Vision Ultra Clear is a total natural herb formulated to activate the adult replacement stem cells in your body, sending them to the eyes to repair the damaged cells. Take 1 teaspoon daily in hot water and watch the improvement in your vision. To get yours, call Hafco Herbs 876-540-8871. That's 540-8871 or WhatsApp 533-0462.
My boss, I'm me, man. Greetings from your future self. Just to make you know that the things work out as we planned back in the day. We get the car we always want. And we can't complain about retirement. Nah, lie.
Start planning early with a Jane Individual Retirement Scheme. Retirement lasts longer than you think.
One piece of advice. Take some picture while we still have hair on our head.
Do your future a favor. Make sure you're in a position to enjoy retirement. Contact Jane Life Insurance today.
If you have financial needs, Mr. Charles will fix them for you. Power in great moments since 1992. Oh, we have it all. Power in great moments. Relax, you got Chris and Charles. Oh, we have it all. When you think loans, think Chris and Charles.
Has it ever happened to you that you're scrolling on social media, spending the afternoon, and suddenly you accidentally give your crush a like? Don't get heated. Cool off with a Sprite. Dare and leave them a direct message. Who knows? They might even answer you. Sprite.
Don't forget that the Morning Watch is brought to you by Home and Things. Get everything you need to renovate your space with brands you know, brands you can trust. Visit us at 17 Old Hope Road and Constant Spring Road. And also Chris and Charles. When you think loans, think Chris and Charles. We throw back to the Morning Watch.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. I'm your host, Stokeley Marshall. We are in the second watch. And our guest is Dr. Doreen Brady West. She's a medical doctor and bioethicist. The topic is more recent concerns raised on the New World Health Organization, WHO regulations or accord, as the case may be. Dr. Doreen Brady West, I want to mention a couple of things quickly in the limited time that we do have. Never enough time on the Morning Watch, of course. Now, there are a number of things that jump out at me based on what I've read and I've seen online. And these are from legitimate sources, I should add. There is the concept of the deletion of, well, currently these regulations are non-binding and the non-binding component is being deleted. So the question is, does it make it binding? Also, there are deletion of words such as taking into account the human dignity of persons. That has been those relevant words have been struck out, and the question is why. And before you comment, Dr. Brady West, it appears as if by widening it from just public health to covering all risks, it might be going a little bit too far. or just too far. And also the timeline, the very important timeline. I saw reference to the letter that you're making reference to, Dr. Brady West. Yes, it is by a very senior medical doctor who we had wanted on the program this morning. But, well, alas, he's not with us this morning on the program, but you are. And if his letter is to be taken as being correct, it would appear as if any objection should have been made maybe from the end of May this year, if what his letter says is correct. But we're now in early June. Dr. Brady West.
Yes, well, you have correctly alluded to some of the concerns with striking out the word non-binding. Obviously, infers that they will be binding. I mean, the opposite of non-binding is binding. And why would you strike out the word non-binding unless you intended them to be binding? I mean, you just have to use common sense. So that is one problem. You also talked about the reach and scope of the recommendations, not just public health, but all risks with potential impact on public health. And who will decide if there's such a potential impact? I guess it's the WHO. And then the regulations are not going to be implemented with full respect for dignity, human rights, and fundamental freedoms. Why would anyone have anything against those terms? But instead, on the principle of equity and inclusivity, that should raise a red flag for anybody. Inclusivity, that's a word on its own. So yes, those are valid concerns, and it seems to some persons that the WHO is in an overreach for power, using this pandemic thing to get more power over sovereign countries, and in fact, whether in fact our elected leaders are going to just quietly give away our sovereignty to unelected bodies, and which will then have the right to decide when there's a risk in our country, and without consulting the member state, because it says so in the recommendations. Before, they would have consulted the member state about the presence of these risks, but now they have no obligation to take into consideration the views of the state party. That is Article 10. The WHO no longer will take into consideration the views of the state party. They will simply do what they think they need to do. Okay, they will not consult or obtain verification from the state party. That is out. That is struck out. That's no longer so. And so I think it's a valid concern.
Can you break that down for the listeners, Dr. Brady West?
Yeah, so usually, prior, like Article 9 before said, if there's a report that there's something happening in Jamaica, which was a risk for a pandemic or public health risk, if there's a concern, a report about that, before taking any action based on such a report, the WHO will consult the Jamaican authorities and obtain verification from the Jamaican authorities, because this is the territory in which the event is supposed to be happening. They would do that before taking action. Now that has been struck out.
Okay, so they don't need to consult with the local ministry.
They're not going to consult or get verification from the region like Jamaica in which the alleged event is happening.
They can just act and implement a
They
measure.
will act, yes, without that verification. So that's an important deletion.
Which means that they can say take this particular medication, take this particular medical treatment.
But medication is one thing, but they can say lock down the country, for example.
They could go that far.
In or out, yes. So
they could go that far.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
This is amazing.
So that is a major concern, right? And that we have only touched the tip of the iceberg.
Well, tell us the rest if you can.
Well, some of the other things is that before the state party would make information, like in Jamaica had information. Jamaica is a state party to the WHO, right? Agreement. So if Jamaica,
and just for clarity, I just want to remind listeners that we are, as Jamaica, we are members of the WHO. Go ahead.
Yes, we are a member and we are state parties to the agreement, right? So if Jamaica have got information, okay, we could exchange that information with another country directly. To the UK or Trinidad or Barbados, we could have this is no longer. The state parties will not make information generally available to other state parties, but only through the WHO. is
So
that
we can't
information.
talk directly to Trinidad and Tobago
No,
or
no,
St.
no. You have to go to the WHO, tell them what is going on in your region, and they will decide when and if it should be made available to other state parties. So people are concerned about that. Why? Why should they be the eternal, divine arbiter of what information is exchanged between state parties? People are concerned about that, and you can't blame them for being concerned about that.
So, Dr. Brady West, is it true that if we did not make any objection up to the end of last month, May 2023, that we can't still
But
make an
from my reading, it was 18 months from May 2022. That was from my reading of the documents.
So, okay, so we probably have 6 months left.
We have a few months, yes.
We have a few months left. So, to your knowledge, is it so we've gotten that out of the way in terms of, because the letter of the senior medical doctor indicated it was up to last month, which I wondered about it, but I would have rather speaking to him on air about that.
Right, exactly. Because from my reading, it mentions 18 months.
Okay, it could have been an error, but going forward, to your knowledge, is the church?
But his concerns are very valid, though. Eh?
I totally agree with you there. I totally agree with you there. And to your knowledge, is the church asking the government of Jamaica to explain what Jamaica has said, if anything, about the proposed regulations, whether we are going along with it or not going along with it?
Well, I know that some Christian NGOs, of one of which I'm a part, has written a letter of concern about these regulations and about the timeline and about the necessity to guard sovereignty and not to let unelected officials come into Jamaica and decide what will happen, where we can go, what we can do, whether we can travel, whether we'll have no movement days. Those are not things decisions to be made by some outside unelected party. So I don't know whether church bodies officially have written, but there are some NGOs, and I know personally of one, who have written to the government.
Have you gotten any reply? Have any replies been?
No, not to date. No.
No replies. What next, if anything?
Also, I must say, though, in fairness, that one of the opposition members on health did reference the issue in Parliament not long ago. So
I see. Okay, I see.
In fairness,
okay. So, any final comments, Dr. Brady West, because time is running ahead of us, and
well, my final comment is that the price of freedom is eternal vigilance. And we know that this is a different world we are living in. It's a world where control is a key word. And so everybody should be concerned when it seems that any agency, international unelected agency, is trying to exercise a level of control over the country that the voters in the country did not agree to. I think that is a matter for valid concern. And one of the things that our listeners should look up is the idea of WHO saying that one of the health risks nowadays is something called an infodemic. An infodemic is where there's too much information given to people, whether accurate or inaccurate. They say this is dangerous. It's an infodemic and it has to be controlled. People cannot get too much information, whether accurate or inaccurate. They cannot get too much information because they will not do the health measures that WHO wants them to do. You see where this is heading, of course. This is heading to suppression of information and suppression of freedom of speech. These are the potential dangers, and I think they're real.
And I believe that you should allow people to seek out any relevant information that they wish. Let them decide for themselves what they'll accept or reject. Don't try to control or censor.
It's dangerous. It's something that they did in Germany in 1930s. It's not something to be done.
We have to leave it there this morning. Dr. Doreen Brady was very thoughtful comments of yours, and we wait to hear from you and others like yourself of the next step so people can know what is happening. Thank you so much for your time and for your thoughts.
Okay, thank you.
And thank you, listeners, for being with us today. Visit the Love 101 FM YouTube channel and Facebook page for this and all other Love 101 FM programs. And of course, download our Love 101 app and stay connected to us. We are the number 4 station in the island and the number 1 gospel station in Jamaica. This has been the Morning Watch. Have a blessed rest of day. And join me again tomorrow as I look at other topical and controversial issues. And thanks to our producers, Kathy Gale, and for today, also Dr. D. Blair. And to our guests, I am Stokeley Marshall. Hand you back up in the morning with Brooka.
The Morning Watch was brought to you by Home and Things and also Chris and Charles. When you think loans, think Chris and Charles.